What up, y'all? Up next, it is like a little after 8, and I know everybody's probably chilling out, but I have Gangsta in the Kitchen, the founder, the one and only Shelia Johnson, Miss Shelia Johnson, the Gangsta in the Kitchen, the one.
I love it.
I mean, what's up?
What's going on, baby? How are you?
I'm doing good. It's great to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's always a pleasure.
You're right around the corner from me. I hope you know.
I know. Yes, I do know that.
Okay.
Yes. We're neighbors.
We are neighbors.
Yes. And when all this is over, I'm going to cook up some stuff. We're going to sit on the patio in the back. We're going to eat up some good food and come up with some plans and ideas for our city and our people.
Yeah. You know what? I'm ready to just throw down a whole barbecue and just invite all our people and people just tune up. It don't need to be nowhere crazy. We could do it in front of your house, right? No.
We can do it in that parking lot down on 18th and Vine where people park, across from the. Yeah, we can do it right there.
Oh, okay, cool. No permit, no big deal. Yeah, we're just gonna no big deal. We're just gonna do it. But thank you so much for tuning in with me tonight. Definitely an honor because I know typically you are bringing people on the camera, but tonight I get to have you on the camera to talk about food. You're normally talking to other people about food, so this is a different touch. But I'm excited about it. And one thing that everybody is doing at home right now is eating, either good or bad. They're eating, and I thought it would be really cool to have you come on and really kind of dive into, meals, what people kind of put together, some salad options, because it's very tempting to just go in the kitchen and just be like, I'm eating everything, or not proportionately, putting things through in right order. So
absolutely.
But before we dive into that, I want people to hear who you are. What is Gangsta Goodies in the Kitchen? How did it come about? And your love for the kitchen and for food.
Absolutely. So born and raised Kansas City. I'm a product of the Kansas City, Missouri public school system. I am a proud alumni of Rockhust University, and I received my undergraduate and my graduate degree both there. And so shout out to the Jesuits, for developing servant leaders, So it's a really critical thing. And so when I was growing up, Kiona, my mother used the kitchen as a tool, not just to teach me how to cook, okay, but to teach me about life. I learned who my mother was in the kitchen, even as a woman. I mean, we talked about everything. We talked about her childhood. We talked about, her life and things going on in the world, those life lessons, and even, talking about her first love, in the kitchen. I learned how to play jacks. So those of us who are at least my age and older, you know how to play jacks, Kiona?
I know how to play jacks. My grandma bought me the game. So, if your grandma raised you, you know what jacks is.
You know what jacks are. In the kitchen, on the kitchen floor, And so there was a time where the kitchen was the hub for us. You remember that movie, Soul Food? Remember how every Sunday, everybody came to Big Mama's house, And so with all the seemingly dysfunction going on, they still came together. Yeah. And so when you come together, you have the opportunity for a couple of things to heal and to move forward. And so that's why we do what we do, because
can you back up? Can you say that again?
Yes. Yes.
That was so good. We want to have church.
Yeah, look, let's do it. Yes. And so it really is. I mean, because, there's trauma in families. There's, all kinds of, dysfunction, or I don't like to use the word dysfunction because that's a negative word.
It is.
So there's challenges and, there's been trauma and, stuff happens. And so as a family, how do we move past that? We got to heal first. But if we're not getting together and having those conversations, and being in the kitchen and cooking together is a very non-threatening way of having those conversations. They just kind of flow, And so let's have those conversations. Let's heal our families, because once our families are healed, then guess what? Our communities are too.
For sure. Because it starts internally.
Yes, it does.
In your home.
Yes.
Where you spend, besides work, majority of your time with people that you love and care about, your kids, your significant other, relatives, all of that. I completely agree.
Absolutely. Yes. I had a nephew several years ago say to me, and he just kind of flip it. He said, "Aunt Sheila, I don't know if I'll ever get married." And I'm like, what? Why? Tell Aunt Sheila what's going on, baby. Why? And he said, the young ladies now don't know how to cook, and they don't want to know how to cook. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. He's like, no, I wish I was. Yeah. And so we hope that we make it interesting, that we make it fun. We, and it's not as, overwhelming, for people, that let's, basic stuff. Let's learn how to make it, and not just learn how to cook, but it's also an opportunity to develop relationships. Yeah. When we pass that opportunity, when we were growing up, we always sat at the table to eat together. And you know what? We developed relationships that we didn't even realize we were developing. We were developing bonds and connections that we didn't realize that that's what was going on, but we know now that that's exactly what was going on. So when we're not taking the time to do that with our families, as parents, we're passing the opportunity to connect with our kids. We wonder why. We've all seen it, where something happens with our kids and they were like, oh, we didn't know little Johnny was even into that kind of stuff. Well, maybe we need to be having conversations with little Johnny, okay, let's talk, and even just in casual, because there's so much that you can glean from just having conversations. And plus you make little Johnny feel like you're interested, that you want to know, that his life is important to you. And he's going to, then you build that trust. And it's a win-win for families. We got to get back in the kitchen. It's a win-win.
We got to get back in the kitchen. So y'all got on here, for those of y'all who tuning in, thought we was going to be talking about food, and we talking about getting your life together in the kitchen, because it's more than just food. We're going to talk about food that go in your bellies, but we're talking about food that's good for the soul. Yeah. And ultimately what I hear you saying is that's cultivation of families and these very, very important things that you cannot get unless mom and dad or grandma or aunt set some things in place. For me, growing up with my grandmother, I think that was the one thing that she did not allow me to do, was to take my plate into the living room. Right. So it wasn't like necessarily, hey, you can't eat on the couch. It was like, no, you can't eat on the couch because your butt gonna come over here and sit at the table, and we all gonna sit together. Even if we didn't say anything to each other, we all still sat at the table.
Yes. Okay, there's a process to this stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Let's set some order and balance.
Yeah, it is. But hopefully that's not the case with your nephew. He thinks his perspective changes, and he finds something different. Yeah. And so going back to you, though, you mentioned you grew up in Kansas City. You've always, your mom, she cultivated, your love for food in the kitchen, which I think is very cool, very awesome. Because if that wasn't the case, I don't think we would have Gangsta Goodies. So you've been able to interview literally everybody in Kansas City of significance in your home. How do you do that? Like, wait, that's not even going to Gangsta Goodies Kitchen yet. Like, how do you even go on TV? You go to KCTV5, they say, hey, Miss Sheila, come to our studio. Yes. We want you to, do the meal of the week or whatever. Yeah. What's going on?
Well, I kind of looked at it like this, is that, okay, so if I am going, first of all, just ask, it's like, hey, my name is Sheila. This is what we do, and this is what we believe. And we believe that you have a story that Kansas City needs to know. Yeah. And so come on in, let's cook with us, and let's cook together, let's eat together, and let's chat it up and have a conversation. There's a resource, there's a business under there. There's, your daycare, your doctor, your political candidates, whomever. Yeah. And so just information that our community needs to have access to. And so it's just a different way, just like in the kitchen. When you're learning how to cook, you're having those sidebar conversations. And so you learn and you get access, to information, that you could possibly benefit from. And so I I have to work with my resources. One of the things, I am a huge Nipsey Hussle fan. Okay. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It takes my 35-year-old daughter to tell you how much I love Nipsey Hussle. She's like, I feel like Nipsey is my brother.
I'm quite impressed because a lot of people, I mean, us young folks know who Nipsey Hussle is, but you know, anybody, you know.
Yes. But he said, he was quoted in Forbes 1 year of saying that as an entrepreneur, you may not have at that current time all of the resources you think you need to get from point A to point B. He said, but there's always something you can be doing to get there. And so one day we're going to be in a real live, full-fledged TV studio. And I know that. But until then, with the resources that I got, I'm going to invite y'all all into my home and have that experience, you know? Yeah. And so, you know, I have been very, you know, very fortunate, you know, that people are, you know, because at first I thought, are people going to feel comfortable doing that? It's my house. It's where I live. But I've never had anyone say, yeah, no, I ain't doing that. But I think it's, you know, how it's presented and, you know, and that sort of thing. And the guests are always welcome to bring someone with them, you know, if that makes them feel comfortable or whatever. Sure. And so we just, you know, we just have fun with it. And my hope is that when guests come in, that they immediately feel like that they're at home. Take your shoes off and let's cook and let's eat and let's talk.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I came over.
Good, I'm glad.
I mean, and I think that's the cool part about what you do. I mean, ultimately, I know you want the full set studio, and that will come. It's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Yes. But I think the flip side, when you do get the studio, for sure, maybe a special edition episode, sidebar, could be, you know, somebody coming in your home, like the president or something. Not this term, but you know.
No. I wouldn't get a past president.
Yeah, or that too. So that's great. So Gangsta Goodies Kitchen, for those of you guys who are just tuning in, founder Mrs. Shelia Johnson, have for her with me this evening. We're just talking about all things healthy choices in your homes during this quarantine time, things that you should be consuming and not really just, you know, getting in your system, and it's not great. But right now we're talking about Ms. Shelia and her experience and things that she gives Kansas City. And so you mentioned that you grew up in Kansas City. Yes. You went to Rockhust for your undergrad and your master's.
Yes.
That right there is like, I'm like, where the Rockhust alumni at? Like, yes. It's crazy. Exactly. They are very good on, like you said, stewardship and cultivating leadership and, you know, service and all those great things. But you went to high school at
Northeast High School. So I grew up, and here's the funny thing. I didn't even realize that I grew up in the hood or the projects per se. I grew up right off of 10th and Paseo in a complex called Parker Square, 12th Street. I'm from 12th Street. Where are my 12th Street family at, y'all? And so it is, but you know, when you grow up in a time, and at that time, you know, it was a community, you know, my mother and other mothers around the neighborhood, they were a family and we were a family. And so if there was something going on, that I had a performance at school and my mother had to work, guess what? One of the other mothers was going to be there. You better believe there was going to be a mother from my community there to cheer me on. And so I saw that also growing up, and the food that the women would collectively cook. Oh my goodness.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. It really was. It really was.
So what was your like, okay, I'm going to really, really like buckle down and I'm going to launch Gangsta Goodies in the kitchen? I mean, because when I see your brand, know that in my mind, it's yours. It's very strong. The name is very strong. Yes. How did you come up with that? And just kind of what was your like first episode?
Okay. So the name. So we kind of went back and forth with the name. And so we think about what's the goal? The goal is to inspire people to get back in the kitchen together. And so I look at what are we watching on TV? What are we seeing on social media? There's a lot of, what do they call reality TV going on. And so a lot of energy given to reality TV. And I'm like, I can't compete with Atlanta Housewives. Okay. So I knew I needed a name because my target market, they're watching Atlanta Housewives. They're watching Black Ink. They're watching those things. Okay. They're watching Empire. They're watching Power. And so I needed a name that would command attention. And so Gangsta Goodies Kitchen. And so gangster, what is gangster? I had a girlfriend early on say to me, even one of my mentors, that name really don't even fit your personality. I said, well, that's because you guys are looking at the traditional meaning of the word.
Tell us what they think it is, Sheila.
Let me tell you what a gangster. So I said to her, I said, let me tell you what a gangster is. I said, I was a teen. First of all, I grew up in the hood. Okay, raised by a single mom. I was 16 when I gave birth to my oldest daughter. So I was a teen mom. So I had all of those things already going against me. Those were barriers, okay? Or barriers that my society would put, in front of me. And so went through that. So, we did that, got married way too young. That was not an awesome experience. That's a whole nother story, y'all. But we survived it, okay? My daughters and I survived that experience. So now I'm on my own, raising two girls on my own, started working full time, went back to school, got my bachelor's degree, my master's degree. My bachelor's, I graduated with a 3.89 GPA while working full time. And dance coach at my daughter's high school. I said, if that ain't a gangster, I don't know what is. So a gangster is not of average intelligence, because in most cases, a gangster has had to rise above what society expects, what the societal norms are. A gangster refuses to accept mediocrity as if it's his or her final destination. A gangster loves and nourishes their offsprings. A gangster always is involved in their community, always giving back, always developing their skill set so that they can then share with others. That's a gangster. A gangster is not a thug. Yeah. Not in the Gangsta Goodies Kitchen.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's all about how you look at it. It's all about perspective.
Yes.
What is your favorite meal to cook in the kitchen? Because I know you cook so much stuff. So I'm like, every time I look up, you is making a cocktail. I'm like, God, wish I could go pick up that. Or you're making some dish, or you're like, in the kitchen or prepping for another show. Like, what is your most favorite thing? Like, if I had to cook one meal tonight, what would you cook?
So if I had to cook one meal tonight, they would be jerk oxtails, rice and peas, and cabbage.
Wow.
Jerk is one of my favorite spices to work with. I will jerk everything if I can.
That is so cool. I've never had that, by the way, so I might need to try that. I've never had oxtails.
You have never had an oxtail?
Never.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So we might have to
change that. We'll have to change that. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So that's my favorite. That's one of my favorites. Yes.
Okay. So when you do those things and how you prep for a show, like how do you choose the dish upon the person? Because I know with me, it was like, hey, what's your favorite food? Well, some people might not care, right? Like, I don't care. I just need to come do the interview. I love you. I don't care what we cook. So how do you set the atmosphere?
So I start with what's your favorite food or something you would like to learn how to cook.
Okay.
Or if there is a favorite dish that you have that your family loves, then you come share it with us. And so I kind of leave it, that way. So for guests who are like, whatever you want, it don't even matter. I kind of go, okay, what I'm basically kind of what I got a taste for, or what I'm looking for, what I haven't already shown. And so just kind of go from there.
Yeah. Is there anything that you are like in the future, when you guys open your studio, is there something that's like, man, I need to learn how to make that. If I could just figure out what exactly, how I can kind of make that a Gangsta Goodies Kitchen kind of style, what would that be?
So and this is what I share with people too, is that although it's about the food, it really ain't about the food, if that makes sense. Okay. So we use the food as the tool to help bring families and communities together one meal at a time. And so it is so, and I, I'm not a chef, I'm a home cook, sure. And I said, I'm sure my neighbor probably cook better than I do. Okay. But, now I'm a bad girl in the kitchen. I am a gangster in the kitchen, but for me, it's not necessarily it's more about the people than the food. And so again, that food is a great equalizer. In some countries, even a basic business meeting, they're not going to start that business meeting until they break bread together. And so again, it's not necessarily about the food. It's about what food does. It connects us, and so for me, just being able to take meals that maybe, because people have asked, well, what's your specialty, or what's your, is it Chinese food, or is it this? And so I try to take those things, those foods that I grew up loving, those comfort foods, those staples in our communities, and make them healthier. So I love collard greens because my mother loved collard greens, but of course she made them with fat back and neck bones and all that. Well, I try not to cook them like that. Now, every once in a while I will, but for the most part, I take collard greens and I cook them in a wok. 20 minutes, they done. Yeah. And so what we've done by preparing them that way is that we keep all the nutrients. We're not boiling all the nutrients out. We're not adding in a bunch of sodium, a bunch of food, meats that have been processed. We're just purely taking the raw greens and all the benefits that it offers. Because the way we traditionally cook greens, there's no nutrition in them when we're done. We've boiled it all out. We really have. We've seasoned it to death and we've boiled it all out. And so it's like on a daily, and I probably eat collard greens about 3 times a week. Yeah. And it's literally taking, and it's just me. So it's just one bunch of greens and I cook them up, put some red bell peppers in there, some onions, some green bell peppers, maybe even slough some carrots in there and a little bit of olive oil with some fresh garlic and some spices. And when I tell you them collard greens are fire.
Yeah. Before I get into like some of the healthy choices and just kind of your mindset about food, I have a question for you, because there is a lot of stereotypes about Black communities when it comes to our food. Yes. We talk about, fried chicken and pork chops and all of these greasy types of things. But what we come to realize, and especially in these times when we talk about preconditions and, just high blood pressure, diabetes, all these things. And some of it is really just has nothing to do with anything else. It's just about what we put in our bodies. Yes. What are your thoughts on that?
So I totally agree with that. And the one thing is that you should be learning and teaching ourselves research. We Google everything else. Okay. So it's like my granddaughter told me a long time ago, Gigi, just Google it. I'm like, oh, okay. So, and find out, first of all, what is the nutritional value that we're trying to get? Are we eating for nutritional value, or are we just eating for taste? And I'll be the first to admit, there are many times I'm just eating for the flavor. I just want the taste of it. I'm not thinking about the nutritional value. Okay.
It's healthy or let's be real. I mean, and it's okay. It's okay to like have a bag of Cheetos every now and then, but
yes, I mean, like, not every day.
Yeah. I just felt convicted. I've been doing great. Most people would say because, oh, you're skinny or you don't look sick. It's like, no, I could be skinny and look great, but I can still have poor health condition.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, yeah. Yes. I don't know, like as a community, do you feel like we're still like embracing? Because some people, eating healthy is a white community thing. It's like, not really. Like everybody should eat healthy. And some of that too, as I mentioned just moments ago, that's embracing like, hey, you need to eat a salad once a day. You need to like switch up your diet a little bit.
Absolutely. And it's not really until those things happen. And I'll tell you, 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with a very rare type of lymphoma. Okay.
Mhm.
And so it was really at that point, with the support and actually leadership, because my oldest daughter just kind of took control of it. She's like, look, you need to eat living things. You cannot eat stuff out of the can, all this processed stuff. She's like, mama, that stuff has got to go if you want to live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the harsh reality of it, is that I have to do the science, and the doctors can only do so much. Okay. And God expects that I'm going to take care, that I'm going to do my part as well. And so doing my part is then, okay, Sheila, won't you bake that chicken wing instead of frying it? Okay. So it's, and so it is learning how to cut out those small things. So like, and I'm just going to say chicken wings, because you know what, we love Wing Wednesdays. And so instead of breading that chicken in bleached, enriched flour, and then submerging it into a whole bunch of vegetable oil, just using that chicken, put just a little bit of oil in a cast iron.
Put it in the oven.
Yeah, put it in the oven, or put it on the grill, so that we can, those baby steps, of getting rid of those things, the flour, the sugar, get coconut sugar, instead of that granulated sugar.
What? Coconut sugar? Talk to us, Miss.
Yes. So it's just, it's a different form of it, a form that is more natural, than the granulated 5-pound bag of sugar that we typically go get. Get some coconut sugar, and even with flours, there's almond flours out there. There's coconut flour out there. If you've got to have a flour, which are, could be used in baking and those sorts of things as well. It is just, again, those little things that we can build on, adding vegetables, to your plate, and minimizing the carbohydrates that we intake, and so, and ultimately too, knowing how your individual body processes the food that you put into it.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. I mean, all of those things are important, as you mentioned, and obviously with us being home now, eating out of our refrigerators, going to buy food is increasingly more. And so can you talk about just some basic stuff? Like, everybody, some people don't eat meat, some people do eat meat. Okay.
Yes.
Just what is like a regiment? Like, hey, you're in the kitchen. What are some things that come into your mind when it pertains to cooking, lunch, breakfast, dinner, some of those things?
Yes. So I typically, now with COVID, it's kind of different, but typically I go to the market 3 times a week, typically. Okay. Because I don't buy anything frozen. Okay. So I buy my meat fresh. Okay. So I'm going to the butcher shop, I'm buying that meat fresh. And then there's if it's beef, it lasts for so long. If it's fish, and so I buy, I buy a steak, I buy some salmon, and maybe some chicken. And so I know by the end of the week, I've got to cook that meat up. So it also keeps me where I'm not wasteful, and then I'm using exactly what I'm buying. But because I buy also fresh produce, and fresh produce is going to last that long. Okay. So some greens, green leafy vegetables are so good for us. Beans are great for us, and beans are so economical, and we can do all kinds of things with beans. So for people who are non-meat eaters, we can use beans to make, stuffing for a veggie burger, for our tacos, for whatever we want to have. Beans is a good base, for that. Jackfruit is another great resource if you don't want a meat product, and then there's all those other vegetable, proteins that are out there as well. And then having fruit, fruit is great. Now I have to be honest, I am more of a vegetable eater than a fruit eater.
Okay.
I absolutely love vegetables. I will mess up some green beans, some asparagus, some cabbage, some collard greens, all of that. And Brussels sprouts, all of that. Love vegetables. Fruit. Now I do eat fruit, and I try to make sure I eat an apple a day. And I try, especially now, and I've got all these lemons here, and oranges so that I get my vitamin C. And so, and the lemons, you know, I just put them in my water. You know, I put sometimes lemons and oranges in the water, and just so that I'm trying to get, you know, as much fruit in as possible. Now, I try to go for 6 total servings of fruits and vegetables a day. I know that's a lot for most people, but again, I'm dealing with a lymphoma that there's no cure for. Okay. So this is something I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. Okay. So, you know, but for the, you know, for most people, 4 servings of fruits and vegetables, and it's easy to do, you know, so you can, let's say you have oatmeal in the morning, you can have half an apple. If you don't want the whole apple, you can put some raisins in there. You can put some cranberries in there, so now you've got 1 serving of vegetables in already. It's snack time. Peel that orange and eat that orange. There you've got another serving of fruit just out of the way. You know, let alone the smoothies, you know, that we put the spinach in, we put the fruit in, and 1 smoothie, you can get 3 to 4 servings of your fruits and vegetables right there.
Yeah, for sure. So it's breaking it up, you know, maybe it's a whole fruit, or maybe you're a smoothie person, so you can take those same things and throw it in there.
Yes, because for some people it's hard for them to
maybe
eat
a little almond milk.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And so it is, and again, it's just baby steps. And then, you know, when you look at your plate too, that myplate.gov has, you know, that whole what your plate looks like and how those carbohydrates should be the smallest thing on your plate. You know, we need them, but the nutritional value outside of like quinoa is great. You know, there's some other grains that are out there that are great for us, that are also considered carbohydrates. Sweet potatoes. Oh my God. Because I'm a potato lover. I'm not a dessert person at all. And if you'll notice, I have never, ever done a dessert episode.
Now that you think about that, I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard you talk about how to make a cake.
Never. But potatoes is my weakness. And so what I had to do was flip that and use sweet potatoes instead of regular potatoes.
Wow. That's some good stuff. What would you say about, you know, because moms are at home, dads are at home, the kids are at home, so they're not at school traditionally, so now they're having to cook for everybody. What are some healthy options for kids, for the little ones as they're running around? Like, we know fruits. What else, Miss Shelia?
And so, you know what, a couple of weeks ago, I did a home pizza. I had never in my life made a home pizza. And so you get those little pre-made, you can get the naan bread or some sort of flat bread, you know, and then it could be a whole project for the whole family. So
that's so true.
Yes. Somebody wants spinach, but somebody else may not want spinach, you know, then you can bring in, you know, all of the vegetables, you know, the pepperoni, whatever people want on their pizza, what the kids want on their pizza, and they can make it individually themselves. Yeah. And so here you have taken the time, you've done something together as a family, you've all created your own individual pizzas, pop them in the oven, and the kids think, oh my God, I made my pizza.
Yeah, and then they're going to eat it all.
And they're going to eat it all.
Because they made it.
They made it. So I have a grandson who is 7. His dad is in the military. So my daughter and her family, they're in Germany. And so he watches all of my episodes. And so after the pizza episode, he FaceTimes me. He's like, Gigi. He's like, yeah, that pineapple on that pizza. Yeah. So he's telling me all the things he would have put on his pizza. And so kids like that kind of stuff. You know, they kind of get their hands involved in it. You know, pizzas are good. Even like some sort of like roll, you know, like if I with deli meat, you know, I'm very careful with deli meat because of the nitrates, and it's a processed food as well. So if we're eating it, you know, we're gonna have to pay a little more and get the nitrate free. Okay. You know,
can you talk about the difference with that? Because I'm learning as well. When you talk about just going to Walmart or, you know, Price Chopper, just picking up some turkey meat that's sliced.
Walmart's not a grocery store, Kiona. I don't want you to Walmart groceries.
Well, I go to Price Chopper, but
okay,
I mean, you know, I haven't been to Walmart in a long time. Like,
okay,
good. A long time, beginning of the year. I've been in Sunfresh. I've been in Price Chopper, mainly Price Chopper.
Yes.
Walmart is not a grocery store.
It's not a grocery store. They sell groceries, but
I am chuckling. This is too funny.
Oh my goodness. And so it is, I'm sorry, I started laughing and I forgot your question.
No, the difference between the meat. So you said nitrate.
So the nitrate is a chemical that just over time is just not good for us, you know. So now in small dosages, you know, and we have healthy immune systems, it probably isn't going to have that big of an impact. But when we have, especially in our community, and we have other pre-existing conditions and that extra sodium that goes into there to preserve it, and it's just those small things that we can kind of steer away from. You know what? Buy a turkey breast and roast it yourself. Yeah. Then you know ain't no chemicals in it.
Yeah, that's good. That's some
and
good
so
stuff.
That is, you know, kind of the thing. But you can make, you know, those little sandwich roll-ups. My grandkids actually loves those. You know, one likes meat, likes bread, the other one doesn't. So one rolls it up with the lettuce, the tomatoes, pickles, and it's just the turkey meat and the vegetables. And
for sure.
So, you know, and so it just kinds of, so those kinds of things, little, I made some little miniature pot pies with my grandkids. Mm-hmm. And they absolutely loved it because they put in their pot pie what they wanted. And so it wasn't me dictating, you know, hey, put that in. And so they enjoyed that. You know, they enjoyed putting it all together, putting it in the oven and watching it, you know, come to life. And they're like, oh my God, I made that myself. And I'm like, yes, you did. Great job.
Yeah.
You know, and
watch it. So yes. They want to watch it.
Yes.
That's good. So parents basically in this time, two things is what I'm hearing from you. Obviously healthy options for the kids, but more so creating something that is fun, that doesn't feel forced. You know, homemade pizzas, different toppings that, you know, in, you know, some containers, they wash your hands and they can pick and put on what they want.
Yes.
Moving from the kids, and then also how do you proportion like meals? Like I know I've heard some people say they literally for their snacks take them, divide them up, and they like put them in like those size or proportion sandwich bags.
I love that.
I might need to adapt the rule. Like literally, I might need to do that. So, what are your thoughts on that? Because when we're home, like yes, it's great. We're eating healthy. We're doing those things, but even healthy food, we need some limitations as well.
Yes, and so doing that is absolutely phenomenal. And the kids can help do that too. Mom just came from the grocery store. She's got all these fruits and vegetables. Kids can get in there and help wash them.
Yeah.
You know, and mom can, you know, 10 grapes, peel off 10 grapes, put it in a little Ziploc. Mm-hmm. Celery, apple slices, orange slices, and have those things already sliced up and ready to go. And so the kids know that all they got to do, they want a snack, is go in, get a snack. It's already portioned off. Maybe put some chunks of cheese in it, which is healthy fat, you know, maybe a cracker or two or something like that. So, or some nuts. Nuts are great.
Yeah.
Except we have to be careful with kids, you know, because of nut allergies and stuff like that.
For sure.
But having those already ready to go, phenomenal. Fruit kebabs. When I tell you, even now when I do those at like a family event, they are the first thing to go. Because they're so pretty. And you put watermelon on there, grapes and kiwi and mango, and you put it all on because we love food on a stick. Okay, we just do. And it is a great way. And even you can make some up, you know, ahead of time. Have your kids, you know, they can help you do that and put them in Ziploc bags and put them in the refrigerator. And there, when you want a fruit snack or you want a snack, you got a fruit kebab ready to go.
Mm-hmm. What else is being exposed? I know you don't really try to immerse yourself with the news, but I've just been peeking here and there. And, you know, obviously the major meat plants are being shut down. So, and then we always should pay attention to what we're consuming. But
yes,
what are your thoughts around, you know, I guess no food shortages, but just, you know, COVID-19 and everything lifts and now we have the people are shutting down food facilities and just like, what are some things that we should be mindful of? What are some things that we should have already been mindful of? I heard that you're gonna start seeing a shortage in the grocery stores as well with certain meats and stuff, which is kind of weird.
It is kind of weird, but you know what? When you think about early humans, did they eat a lot of meat? And it's not like we actually have to have meat. And so it would be great if we can start getting it up in front of that. Now, I try to do 2 no meat meals a week. And so just so that, to give my body some, just relief from meat. Because the reality is that unless we are eating enough fiber, meat can't stop us up.
Yeah.
It can be not so nice to us. And so having a couple of days a week where there is no meat, it's all grain, it's all fruits, it's all vegetable, I think is a great thing for us to start kind of looking at, and looking up recipes where meat is not the center of the dish. And when you think about it, it's really interesting because when you watch kids, and I've seen this over time, like in restaurants, kids come, with their families. Kids are eating what? Mac and cheese. Ain't no meat in there unless they add meat, or they're eating noodles with no meat. They want a grilled cheese sandwich. And so for our kids, I think we make meat a big deal for them. I don't think it's a big deal for the kids.
Yeah, I think I've heard when you have kids, they love what you put in front of them. I guess is what I've heard. Yeah. I'm not a parent or any of that, but that's what I hear from people who I know who have kids. So if I feed them Skittles, and of course if they don't know good or bad guacamole when they're growing up, so it's good to them, or broccoli or whatever. So
exactly, yes. Ooh, broccoli is another one that's so great for us to eat. Roasted beets. I roast beets probably twice a week. But again, that's because with lymphoma is a blood cancer. And so I need to be doing stuff that's constantly, going to give me benefit for, filter my blood, help me make sure that, I'm keeping my blood as healthy as I possibly can, drinking 80 ounces of water a day, and that has been something that I've heard, some people say with, the COVID-19 is making sure that we're hydrated. Is so important. Hydration, and in particularly when a senior adult is dehydrated, then all kinds of things then can happen on the back end. It can rush in. Actually, any of us are dehydrated. It could cause an emergency room visit, but in particularly for seniors. And I work with seniors, on a daily basis. And so in my phone calls to them, I'm like, make sure you drink a lot of water, Miss Jones. Throw a lemon in there, or something like that, because it's just, hydration is just good. Water helps to filter things out, and of course we have all of these things. You drink this kind of water or that kind of water. I drink distilled water. And I drink distilled water because it is outside of the whole pH balanced water, distilled water. It's the closest you can get to that pH balanced water. And and so it's buy it in jugs, put it in a refrigerator. There it is. Fill up your kids' water bottles, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. It's that just second precautions of just not taking water out of the sink. I mean, like, the stuff sounds very cliche, but it's important for people to adapt to. But the sad part about it is we don't really care until our health is in a bad bind. And so hopefully when people go back and watch this, they take some of your great advice. You are incredible in the kitchen. I can't wait till social distancing gets up. You're an incredible human being, first and foremost. But what you do is impeccable. It's a huge deal. You're literally bridging bridges and knocking down barriers and walls, because we need people like you that don't make things so complicated, right? Like, just come in here and just eat this meal and cook with me. Let's chat about what you say you're passionate about, and let's just have a conversation. So thank you so much for coming on tonight. For those of you who are tuning in tomorrow morning, if you're going to go back and watch this, we have Laura from Goodwill. She's a CFO, and she'll be talking to us about some of the services that they're ready to kind of pivot as it pertains to what Kansas City is getting ready to do, because services are going to be in high demand once the stay-at-home order lifts. So a lot of people are going to be needing a lot of things. So thank you so much. You heard it here. Gangsta in the kitchen. All right, y'all. Peace out.
Peace out. Thank you.